When you see the name Trinidad, what do you think of? 3 hilltops, the Trinity, Columbus's vow 1498, or today's annual carnival celebrations, of course, renowned and phenomenal. And the country that gave birth to the Calypso.
Almost every Calypsonian has one big burning ambition to reach this king competition in the grandstand. Oh yes, the march grow when the gun blast. They don't care if they come last. It's fame to touch Savannah grass.
And to the steel band. A seemingly bottomless lake of natural pitch, which has paved well-known streets in cities of the world. Sugar, grown and refined. And the production of good light rums. A unique product, Angostura bitters. And oil, drilling, and refining. And some of the best looking women in the world.
Hello, I'm Gail Binley Taylor, and I'd like to take you on a tour of my country, Trinidad and Tobago. My work as a broadcaster brings me into daily contact with my people and those who come to visit us. Through the electronic media, it is my job to keep our population, and indeed all other peoples, up to date on the aspirations and achievements of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So, when this opportunity came not only to tell, but to show you what Trinidad and Tobago is like, I was very enthusiastic. Our capital city of Port of Spain suffers like most bigger cities from congestion. But there are many beautiful, unspoilt areas, especially in Tobago, which still claims to be the tranquil Robinson Crusoe Island paradise. Both islands are endowed with lush tropical vegetation, there being only two seasons, a wet and a dry. Located south of the hurricane belt, the islands, with an average daily temperature of 29 degrees Celsius, are cooled by northeast trade winds. A most momentous event, the sudden death on March 29, 1981, of Prime Minister Eric Williams, who had steered the country since the beginning of party government 25 years ago. The Twin Island state has at its head a president since 1977, when it became a republic. The new Prime Minister, George Chambers, arrives at Whitehall to cabinet meeting with his ministers. A bicameral legislature and a Westminster-style parliament of both government and opposition. The late Prime Minister had presented a $5 billion budget for the fiscal year 1981.
And yet guarantee a stable economy for the future generation. The other things that have to be done. First, the government must accelerate its own program in the development of its hydrocarbon resources. More oil and more gas will mean a healthier economy and a stronger foundation for the future. I leave that for my colleagues to develop in the course of the budget debate.
Trinidad's petroleum resources continue to dominate the economy, with the major proportion of crude being produced by marine wells. Amoco is by far the largest producer here, with Trinidad northern areas, Trinidad Tesoro, Texaco, and Trinidad and Tobago oil company Trintoc being lesser producers. The search for oil began in Trinidad in 1857, making our petroleum industry one of the oldest in the world. In 1866, oil was discovered and commercial production began in the early 1900s. Today, though a relatively small producer, Trinidad and Tobago exports as crude oil or refined products roughly 95% of local production. This makes it third, after Mexico and Venezuela, of the 6 net exporters of petroleum and derivatives in Latin America. Within recent years, several discoveries of natural gas have been made off the coast, and reserves of this resource have been put conservatively at 12 trillion cubic feet. With these natural resources and bold planning of its government, Trinidad and Tobago has been referred to as becoming the first industrialized nation of the Caribbean.
ISCOT, the country's iron and steel company, is the major thrust of the gas-using industries centralized at Point Lisas. The natural harbor on this west coast site is the main attraction. ISCOT is wholly owned by government, and the entire plant is now fully operational. Nationals are largely employed. The melt shop is equipped with 2 electric arc furnaces and 2 4-strand continuous billet casting machines, and has a capacity of 700,000 tons of high-quality billets. The estimated total natural gas requirement for ISCOT is about 1 million cubic meters per day. The rolling mill is a 2-strand rod mill, capable of producing annually over 550,000 tons of wire rods. Coil weights of 1,500 and 2,000 kilograms are being produced to satisfy marketing conditions. The Point Lisas Industrial Port Development Company, PLIPDECO, provides the infrastructure and facilities necessary for the establishment of large process industries using high volumes of gas and electricity.
This industrial development, which can only be described as rapid, has resulted in some strain being placed on the public utilities of the 2 islands, where the quality of life, especially in the urban areas, has been said to compare favorably with that of more developed countries. But development of these utilities has not been forgotten.
The Water Supply Development Program will yield by 1986 another 159 million gallons of water per day to the 100 million gallons per day now being used. A new 60 million gallons per day water treatment plant has been completed, and an additional 50 miles of transmission mains laid, together with booster pumping stations and service reservoirs. The new generating plant at Point Lisas will not only meet the needs of the industrial complex there, but will also supplement the supply to the rest of the national system. A submarine cable gives Tobago its supply, but 2 independent diesel generating units have been also installed. 15 to 20 containers an hour can now be handled at the country's container terminal, berth 6A, and a master plan is being prepared for port redevelopment throughout the country. Our national airline flies to major cities, and our Earth satellite station connects us with the world. Trinidad and Tobago is served by 2 radio stations with both AM and FM channels, a commercial television station, and 2 daily newspapers. Roads and highways transform the landscape. And taxis move thousands daily in a mobile population. The telephone service is on the upgrade. But both public and private housing projects lag way behind the country's housing needs.
Our manufacturing sector, which has developed considerably over the last 20 years, deliberately promoted by government through the Industrial Development Corporation and other such organizations, will grow and diversify even further as it responds to the needs of the new energy-based projects. In recent years, special consideration has been given to the small businessman. The newly chartered vessel, the Gelting, makes its inaugural 6-hour trip to Tobago.
Fred Carrington, Director of Educational Planning.
The structure of the education system in Trinidad and Tobago was aimed at providing for every citizen free secondary education, in particular, up to the age 14 plus, and for freeing the primary schools of the problems associated with the common entrance examination. The plan for educational development that was published in 1968 was adjusted and revised to include the provision for all citizens of 5 years of secondary education. One might say that between 1968 and 1975, there were some 18 new secondary schools constructed, providing accommodation for some 27,000 children. And between 1975 and 1981, an additional 23 new secondary schools were constructed, providing altogether some 46,600 places at secondary level over the 13-year period 1968 to 1981.
Trinidad and Tobago's financial sector comprises a wide range of commercial banks, finance houses, trust companies, a reinsurance company, a national insurance board, all of which are presided over by the central bank. The main responsibility of the bank is the promotion of money, credit and exchange conditions favorable to the development of the economy. The bank will be sited at the new financial complex with the Ministry of Finance. The complex is being built with British management, engineering and other technical skills under a government-to-government agreement. The British are also responsible for the Hall of Justice as well as the multi-storied car park and other construction, while among others, Canada will provide a new airport terminal, France the Mount Hope Medical Education Complex, West Germany reorganization of public transport, and the Netherlands development of our ports.
International students were trained and important research conducted at the former Imperial College of Tropical Agriculture, now a faculty of the University of the West Indies. Facilities for research for naturalists from all over the world are provided at the Asa Wright Nature Center.
Nearer home, Trinidad and Tobago has actively pursued the goal of an integrated Caribbean community. A Ministry of Caribbean Community Affairs has been opened and agreements have been signed with St. Vincent, Antigua and Barbados. Last year, a plan was unveiled to further assist its Caribbean neighbors.
Uric Bob, Deputy Governor, Central Bank.
Well, the second oil shock, as it is called, when oil prices started rising again in 1979, created a situation where many of the countries in the region would have difficulty covering their balance of payments requirements. The Trinidad and Tobago Oil Facility is a mechanism whereby we reimburse the countries which buy oil from us for what they have paid us. The facility started with effect from January 1, 1980, but with the base of prices of January 1, 1979, just before the price increase started, so that all purchases of oil and related products from Trinidad and Tobago by the eligible countries during 1980, they would have been reimbursed for the incremental cost of that oil purchase from us. And again in 1981 and 1982. It's a 3-year facility with a total fund of 500 million Trinidad and Tobago dollars. All CARICOM states are eligible to apply, and it's a straight cash disbursement in US dollars from Trinidad and Tobago to the eligible country. To this point in time, we've had applications from 8 countries, and 2 of them have been reimbursed for purchases from this country. We have so far disbursed about 162 million Trinidad and Tobago dollars on the basis of applications totaling about 395 million Trinidad and Tobago dollars. The facility is a means whereby it works fairly effectively in that the countries simply submit to us their trade documents, and on the basis of these documents we disburse immediately, so that the funds are not tied up with any requirement for projects or any similar other activity on the part of the country. Now, the loan terms are fairly soft: 15 years to repay, 3 years grace. In the case of the more developed countries, interest rate of 3%, and the less developed CARICOM state, an interest rate of 2%, with the interest capitalized during the grace period.
Carrying the torch of West Indian integration has been the West Indies cricket team, which met England at the Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain in January. Trinidad and Tobago fielded a winning side at the World Netball Championships held at the well-appointed Jean Pierre Sports Complex. And you will remember R. Hazley Crawford winning all his heats on the road to the champion sprinter in the 1976 Montreal Olympics. At the village level, a renewed interest in the folk and the dance, actively promoted by the annual Prime Minister's competition and an attempt at serious and sustained production of local theatre.
I say to dance the ballet, I say to dance the ballet, I say to dance the ballet, I say to dance the ballet. Say long time ago the ballet.
A distinguished novelist of East Indian extraction, a group in Trinidad constituting the largest unit of that racial element in the Western Hemisphere.
The continuing creativity of a people. And honor to Trinidad and Tobago at the beginning of the 80s.
On your behalf, the government, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we salute tonight a distinguished son, Mr. Claude Noel. We are all proud of his achievement, and I hope that he feels, as I do, that his achievement is an achievement of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Before making the presentation to Mr. Noel, let me make one announcement, that the government of Trinidad and Tobago today decided that without prejudice to any other act of the government which may commemorate this great achievement, the government today decided that the Scarborough Parkway in Tobago will hereafter be called the Claude Noel Highway.
And so, with the help of film, I've been able to give you such a picture